Okay, good morning. This is day 36 for little videos describing a day in the life of me as a schizophrenic or human with schizophrenia. I make little videos that describe my thoughts and day in our life and to improve camera presence for whatever endeavor I do in the future, including potentially a library class or something of that nature. I do a little intro here so you can skip ahead 2 minutes if you've seen it already. And what I say is that I am, if I was going to describe myself to others, I am an itty bitty writer who experiences schizophrenia. It is a reality to be experienced, and much of the experience can be ascribed to coming into contact with systems and operations which use advanced technology or modern technology. I am just a brain damaged semi-activist, former semi-activist who is writing a book on technology in society, psychological operations, and political surveillance, including some of my thought processes about what could have got me targeted in the first place. And this targeting is something that this is described as targeted individual program by many people. But I like to use schizophrenia because I feel like schizophrenia should be examined now that we have all these behaviors. Uh, this has resulted in me being sent into a schizophrenic functioning in my brain. I am actually the recipient of organized political warfare, what NATO describes as cognitive war, and what the Chief of Indian Intelligence describes as neurostrike weaponry. And neurostrike weaponry is a term used by the Chinese to describe their neurological weapons. And I just say that, that the United States has these weapons and that they are using them as well. This has given me a conditioned characteristic of schizophrenia, which is more an experience with the classified or underworld of reality. And I will just say that in my book, it is on medium.com, and it is there on chapters, so I can post it on my Facebook page, and it's already on my threads. So, okay. It's on the bio. Okay, getting into today's topics. I was reading in my We Are Electric book about deep brain stimulation, and I was reading that some trials that were there were about a decade ago. They said the trials didn't work out right, but as it turns out, the trials did work out correctly, and that people did have good results from this deep brain stimulation. And what I know is that I have some sort of technology used on me which is related to deep brain stimulation, but I don't know exactly the technology that's used on me, but targets describe it. And what they supposedly do is they get your brain DNA brain modulation, and they can send signals into your brain, controlling your brain and various things like that. And they can change moods and all kinds of stuff. So I guess I could get into that in a little bit, another chapter, another edition of this. I was gonna describe a little bit that I'm learning Irish, Gaelic. I'm learning Spanish and I'm learning Gaelic right now. Spanish on Babbel and Gaelic on Duolingo. And what I can say about Gaelic is I can say "Cafe agus te Ledecky," and that is coffee and tea, please. Or I can say "Cafe le sucre," coffee with sugar. So I'm learning how to go into a cafe and order coffee. So that's what I can do right now in Gaelic. So I know Dia Doit, which is hello. So I'm excited about that. I started learning Gaelic a few years ago, and I wasn't using the app, but the app is a little bit better, I think, than just doing it out of a book. I had a little book that I was reading it out of, and this is a little bit better. So I'm happy with that, and it's making me happy. So we'll see where it goes. Okay. Speaking of Ireland, we found out that one of our cousin's grandfathers, Michael Cunningham, was from Galway. We learned this. I guess we had already known this, but we found it on our ancestry.com thing. And so, yeah, we found out that Michael Cunningham was from Galway, which is the same place that numerous relatives on the Higgins and McCarty side are from. So that's kind of cool. All right. So in my other book, I was just learning about the fact that there was a wolf in my wolf book. It describes a wolf waiting for the family, the wolves at Yellowstone Park. It's at the point where the wolves were released into the park from their pen, and it took the wolves days to decide to leave their pen because they weren't sure if it was safe to go out because that's where the humans were coming from in their pen. So they didn't really know what was going on, and they stayed in the pen for a few days until finally, little by little, some of them began to leave. And one of the wolves was hanging around the pen because he had a little family there, and he had a mate and a little daughter, and so he was hanging around the pen because he was worried about their safety or something. So I thought that was interesting. That wolves, they described it as like it would be as if a prisoner was staying around a prison to be around his family or whatever after he escaped. Okay, so Katie Ledecky, growing up, she did not think she needed to be cool, and I thought that I related to this because I thought that being cool was stupid as a kid, and that's why I never fit in as a teenager in either junior high or high school. I just thought people were kind of being stupid when they were trying to be cool, and I still think it the same way. Like when people try to be cool, as I still think it's like some weird thing that I just don't relate to. And Katie Ledecky came to this realization, I guess, because her brother would play with her in recess. Her older brother would just play with her as a younger sister at recess, and he didn't quite care what other kids thought about it. And Katie Ledecky thought that this was really forming for her because she was saying that her brother was deciding that he was going to do what he wanted to do, and he didn't care what other people thought about it or about it not being cool or something. So I thought that was really cool. She went to a Catholic school, and I related to that. So yeah. Okay. And I feel like I'm already on the Camino and walking with my mom and my dad at the park right now. Currently, we're up to 3,200 steps. We're going to add another 1,500 next week, and then we'll be at like 4,800 or something like that. And so uh, we're just gonna add every week. We're gonna add like 1,000 steps until we get to like 12,000 or 14,000 or something. So that's what we plan on doing, and it feels like I'm already on the Camino. Like I'm in like in training for the Camino. We are looking at little. We have to study the Camino now because we need to know like okay in the section that we're gonna do in the Camino how long is it going to be the longest section, what is the terrain like and stuff. So we know it a little bit, but now we need to get into like the nitty gritty of understanding exactly what we're getting into. And so yeah, so next Friday we're gonna do the hike up the mountain a little bit here, and so that'll be cool to do that. And we're gonna do that once a week every Friday. And right now we hike, we do a little walk every day, so we're just gonna add a little bit more every day to our little walks. And my mom, once she puts her mind to something, she just goes for it and does it. So I know she can do it, and I know we can do it. Okay. All right. So in my book, well, actually, in online, people were asking the question: is the United States flag a hate symbol now that Musk is doing the Sieg Heil from the podium of the presidency of the United States? And I still like the flag. I still find the flag to be kind of warm to me when I look at it, but it has lost some of its. I think this is by design, and it has lost some of its meaning when you wrap it in war for decades, and you wrap it in now Nazi salutes, and it's really weird because like it's not. I mean, you know, Republicans oftentimes would hide behind the flag or consider the flag so precious or whatever, but yet they're sitting there wrapping it in a Nazi salute. So, uh, not really precious to you if you're wrapping it in Nazi salutes in war for decades. So, you don't particularly care about what the symbol represents when you do that kind of thing, and yet you're so overzealous on pointing out when some left wing person burns the flag because of its new type of meaning. And so now, most left wingers don't want to burn the flag. And it's just like that. It's really weird how, like, one side of the country has been able to take ownership of the flag, and they're now taking ownership of the flag to where they can fly it alongside a guy going Sieg Heil. And so, it's kind of ironic that that is going on. So I looked at it and I said, probably for a lot of people, they probably do look at it as a hate symbol around the world. And, I'm sure some people still look at it in a fond manner. And now you don't know what the means to people. Like, we're, it's losing some of its meaning because of the way it is being treated and what it's being wrapped in. And this was an interesting thought because about 15 minutes later, after having this thought, I picked up my Katie Ledecky book and I was reading about how her grandmother, when she was dying, she was a Jewish grandmother, as she was passing on, she was having some dementia, and one of the last things she's saying was with her family, and it was the Star Spangled Banner. Her grandmother liked to sing. She sang show tunes a lot, and she's saying the Star Spangled Banner. And I thought to myself, someone who's Jewish, and you see somebody that flag is now being wrapped in some Nazi billionaire movement. Some Nazi movement is wrapping the flag around itself, and you have a Jewish athlete that goes and represents the country to the world and represents the world and internationality, and you know wonder what it's going to be like for them in the future to represent that flag. Hopefully it's still meaningful, and so I hope it means something, and so it's kind of, I mean, yeah, so that's what I thought, and I thought that was like a synchronicity to actually read that in the book yesterday as I was reading that about the flag. So I don't know if somebody put that online for me to read it and read it in the book. They knew where I was at the book. But yeah, that's another synchronicity, a schizophrenic reality. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop because it's been 15 minutes. So thank you very much.